Welcome to Let's Talk About Flicks, our weekly podcast where we discuss a movie that falls under a theme that we've been discussing for the entire month now. We're kicking off with episode 4, which will conclude our John Carpenter 80s month. I'm one of your hosts, Oz, and this is
Curtis. Again, the last of our opening deluge. First month, 80s Carpenter. It's coming to a close, and we're ending on a great note. Oz, which movie are we ending with this month?
Today, we're going to be talking about 1981 John Carpenter film, Escape from New York.
Such a classic.
I know. And it just really takes... I'm obviously, we're too young to remember that period of time.
I was too. I remember it plain as day.
Right. As a child of the 70s, the 80s were completely clear to me.
Yeah, you were a child of the 70s by, what, 2 weeks? And I was a child of...
Two complete weeks.
I was a child of the 70s by 5 days. So.
Right, so we remember it.
Uh-huh.
But I miss this period of filmmaking where it just seems like back in the 80s and 70s, if you had an idea and you ran it by somebody, they're like, let's make it. Let's just make it. And it's just idea after idea after idea. We'll get into the plot a little bit, but we're going to kick off with some characters. We've got Kurt Russell playing our main character, Snake Plissken, the inspiration for Solid Snake in the Metal Gear series. But Snake Plissken, excuse me, Kurt Russell said is his favorite character he's ever played, and this is his favorite movie he's ever made. But Snake Plissken is a man of mystery. He's a former military man who's facing a life sentence. We'll get to what that entails here in a moment. Curtis, you have anything you want to share about Snake?
I know that he's Kurt Russell kind of modeled the character after kind of classic Clint Eastwood. So it's kind of like, from our episode 1, Big Trouble in Little China, he kind of modeled it after John Wayne. This is kind of the other, big, late 50s, 60s, 70s Western actor.
And to tie into that even more, we've got another main character, Hawk, played by Lee Van Cleef, who is also very popular for those same generation of spaghetti westerns starring Clint Eastwood. So it was kind of a fun play on, we've got a western superstar from back in the day, and we've got our current lead who's trying to shed his Disney image, as Kurt Russell's filmography up to this point was very Disney-centric. Modeling his character after Clint Eastwood. So I bet Lee Van Cleef was doing a double take the entire time of this impeccable Clint Eastwood impersonation. Lee Van Cleef, our Hawk, is our head of security control in our prison. We've got some other characters. Another John Carpenter staple, Tom Atkins, playing he's playing security control for the prison. He's kind of Hawk's right-hand man. Donald Pleasance, another John Carpenter staple, playing the American president with a British accent, because it is the future of 1997.
I think I read someplace that Donald Pleasance was trying to sell Carpenter on the fact that, my character's backstory, like, this is a dystopia, so America's kind of bent the rules, and they allowed somebody who was not born in America to be the president.
Right. Yeah. I think I read something similar along the lines of what they agreed upon was, don't try and shed your accent, just keep it, and we'll just play it up if anybody asks that. Well, in the future, America got so awful that they rejoined the British Empire. So that's why we have a British president. We'll get to a little bit about our prison sentence here, but some of the other characters inside the prison are Cabby, played by classic actor Ernest Borgnine.
The one and only Borgnine.
The happiest prisoner I've ever seen.
Yes, he's
portrayed in a movie.
He's glad to be there.
He wouldn't have missed it for anything. We've got Harry Dean Stanton playing Brain, and his main squeeze Maggie, played by, at the time, John Carpenter's wife, Adrienne Barbeau. And then chef himself, Isaac Hayes, playing the Duke. And we find out he's the man who pretty much runs the prison
number
from
one.
the inside. Yeah. As Donald Pleasance likes to remind him, he's a number one. And he's a very dangerous character. So there's our main characters. Pretty tight cast of characters.
Yes.
Of course, we see a lot more characters in the movie. We are introduced to a few more. But this is really the group that we follow in our adventure as we're trying to escape from New York. You want to kick off the plot?
Sure. So we open on this a little screen grab there. 1988, crime is up 400%. You hear Jamie Lee Curtis's voice give a little kind of opening spiel there. Manhattan Island is a prison surrounded by 50-foot, walls. All of the waterways and bridges are mined, so there's no way out. Liberty Island is security central. We see that the film was written by Carpenter as well as Nick Castle. And Oz, what was Nick Castle's prior claim to fame?
Nick Castle played the Shape, otherwise known as Michael Myers, in John Carpenter's Halloween back in '78. Now, I got a note here that as I'm watching these opening credits, which were very long, all Carpenter and Deborah Hill title sequences look the exact same. It's the same font. It's on a black background. They just drop it in there. They layer in a John Carpenter synth score. These credits just felt like they went on forever. And you could argue you're trying to pad the movie, but the movie was already, it was over an hour and a half. It met at just, I'm watching name drop after name drop. And I made a reference here that I think I even said, oh my God, Carpenter was like Bobby Heenan back in the 80s.
Bobby Heenan.
He just has this stable of people that he works with and they cross over. And it's just together they all achieve greatness. You've got Kurt Russell, Tom Atkins, Charles Cyphers, who played the sheriff in Halloween, Dean Cundy, the cinematographer on a lot of his films, Deborah Hill, producer on a lot of his films, Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, Nick Castle, Keith David. Just
Honky Tonk Man, Greg the Hammer Valentine,
right. Hakeem the African Dream. He's got this. He's just got a stable of people that he works well with, and they just band together and team up, and that probably leads to a lot of his success in this era. Is just we're a tight knit group. We work well together. Our expectations are the same, and they just churn out hit after hit after hit. Mm-hmm. By our definition, yes. Not necessarily box office definition, but it's it just grabs you and runs with it. And there's a lot of other directors that have found themselves in this. Tarantino being another one. Yeah. Alfred Hitchcock worked with a lot of the same people. But it's another foregone era of, you don't see that much anymore, really. Maybe a little bit. You see Lin Shaye show up in a lot of. What's the guy's name that directed Saw and a lot of those Blumhouse productions? But
I'm blanking on the name right now too.
James Wan. James Wan. And so, but other than that, you don't see this menagerie or stable of creative professionals that band together to keep churning out a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So I really thought that was cool. I felt like every name that was in those credits, you could have listed over Halloween or The Fog or, a lot of Carpenter movies from that era. So
in a lot of ways,
that's my little tangent.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I think this is kind of the penultimate Carpenter film for all the reasons you just mentioned. So back to the plot. So we fast forward from the little 1988. This is kind of what happened to 1997. So that's present day in the film. A little odd. So we're going to start 1988 and then we're going to the future again. We're at night, Liberty Island. One of my favorite things about this movie is the miniatures and the sets they use.
Yes.
I love it. So
yes.
You get a miniature of New York City. Unless you're paying close attention, it looks like New York City. There's helicopters everywhere. There's two people on a raft trying to get across. The helicopters spot them, blow them away. So that immediately lets you know that you can't escape this island. You can't escape from New York.
No, you cannot do it. As much as it looked like they filmed in New York, the only time they actually filmed in New York, they were the first movie production to ever get permission to film on Liberty Island. So when you're seeing Statue of Liberty in these few opening minutes, that's the actual Statue of Liberty. And I love what Carpenter chose to shoot from behind the Statue of Liberty. Like, it didn't show the face. Yeah, it's in there, but they're actually on Liberty Island. That's the only time they shot in New York.
And kind of the irony of Liberty Island is security central for America's largest prison.
Right. The only maximum security prison.
Yes.
You just dump them all in Manhattan Island.
Yep, exactly. That's what happens.
With no guards. Just, okay, this is where you're going to live.
So we get introduced to Remy. Again, Hawk's kind of right-hand man, head of security there. Snake is escorted by armed guards into the facility. Hawk arrives, so you quickly get introduced
via limo.
Yes, yeah, because that's how you deliver prisoners to maximum penitentiary is via limo.
Yeah, no, Hawk arrived via limo.
Oh, that's right.
Snake shows up on a bus, the only one on the bus, but with 3 armed guards around him. So we know right away he's dangerous because not only is he shackled and secured, but he's got three guns on him as well. And then Hawk shows up in a limousine.
Remy lets Hawk know that, hey, there's a small jet in trouble over restricted airspace 7 miles out. Quickly identified as none other than Air Force One.
Right. So the plane's been hijacked, and what was the name of the organization that hijacked it?
I got the National Liberation Front of America. So the NLFA.
Right. and she's chattering all these things about racist police state and and it is what it is. But basically this is a suicide mission. Yeah. We're taking the president down with us. And so the crew on board the Secret Service decide we need to save the president, and they put him on a very inconspicuous looking escape pod that surely would not get recognized anywhere.
No. They put him in the pod. And one of my notes that I think we might tangent on for a moment here is the pod on the outside has the presidential seal.
And it's bright red.
Yeah, and they close it up, and just in case you don't know the president's in there, there's the presidential seal on the exterior of this thing.
If found, please return to 1600 Pennsylvania.
I think there was also postage on the outside too, so you could.
I think there was on the back.
Yeah, you could just take it to FedEx, and they'll make sure it gets over there.
So the president he's given a tracking device put on his wrist. On his other wrist, he's got handcuffed with a very long chain connected to a briefcase with important things in it. We don't find out till a little bit later what the important things are. But president is jettisoned from the plane via this top secret escape pod that no one's going to find. And as the plane goes down over Manhattan Island, we find out that the escape pod, is also inside the maximum security prison.
Yeah. We cut to a point of view of the plane hitting the building. Again, just great miniature work. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so great. I love the physical effects. I love the physical landscape they lay out.
I think it's even better because, of course, back in '81, if you watch this movie in '81, you either watched it in the theater or you watched it on VHS. Mm-hmm. And so as technology has improved and we've gotten better transfers of the film, 1080p, 4K, or whatever, where the clarity is even better, I think the miniatures become better. Mm-hmm. They really hold up when you can see even more detail. Yeah. Back in the 80s, it was so low resolution and grainy that you could argue, how'd they do that? That's cool with the buildings. But when you can actually see the detail of the 3D modeling, I was very impressed, just like you were.
Yeah, it looks great. Back in the island, Hawk scrambles helicopters. We got to go save the president. So
we got to get in there.
So they land, couple choppers go down, 20, 30 soldiers file out, and Hawk, who's leading them, hears a high-pitched laugh coming from down the street. So this guy comes out, confronts Hawk. You touch me, he dies. You're not in the air in 30 seconds, he dies. You come back, he dies. Opens up bloody cloth, and there's a finger in there.
Yeah, a middle finger.
Yes, at that.
Yeah, and I think this actor was. There's a chance he was in prison for overacting, but just too many occasions of going overboard with his acting ability. But whatever, he's a good spook. He's a good spooky character. I touch on that a little bit later on in my notes, but he's a great introduction to who we're dealing with. A very feral environment. of just survival of the fittest type. So Hawk and crew fly out.
Yeah.
We got to come up with a plan B, because they've got the president. We know they've got the president because his presidential ring was on that finger. So there, I showed you a finger. Clearly, it's the president's finger. So we got to find, like I said, find out a plan B. And so he's got a plan.
Hawk asks the vice president on the phone to try a rescue mission. And so, and they bring in Snake. Hawk says, "I'm not a fool, Plissken." And Snake responds with, "Call me Snake.
Call me Snake."
Call me Snake. and there's your intro to Snake Plissken.
So the plan is, Snake, you're going in anyway. Go in, save the president within 22 hours, and you'll get a full pardon.
Yeah.
All right? Because the president's briefcase has got to make it to the World Summit in 22 hours.
Yes.
There's a tape in the briefcase that has important information on it that needs to be shared with the World Summit 22 hours from now. And if it's not, basically we're looking at World War III.
And Hawk at one point says we're still at war. So and again, it kind of lends to that world building and what's going on outside of the New York area, that the world is in chaos right now.
And a little, and I've touched on it for 3 weeks in a row, and I'm going to touch on it again. This is another opportunity where we are thrust into the middle of something larger. Carpenter has not taken any time in this film, just like the last 3 weeks, of setting the stage. Why is the world in turmoil? Why are things so bad that in 88 they went to one maximum security prison? Like, we're getting a little intro, but we're just thrown into it. And so we are entering all this as Snake is entering all this, just like we've done the last 3 weeks. And it's been, it's something I don't think I've really ever paid attention to until we've watched 4 Carpenter movies back to back. But this is something he excels at.
Yeah.
It's not world creating, but entrance and expanding on what's going on.
Yeah, and he seeds in just enough to give you, some background and lay of the land. He lets the viewer kind of fill in the details themselves as far as like how and where. But again, you get the world that the characters are living in, and that's really all you need.
Right.
So they get so Hawk and Remy get Snake to a glider that and apparently
prior to that he's given 2 charges in his arteries in his neck. And if these are also timed, so you got 22 hours to get the president out, or these are going to detonate and you're going to die. So there you go.
Yep, you don't need those arteries in your neck to survive.
To the glider.
Yes, to the glider. Which he has flown before in Leningrad. You get that.
Over Leningrad.
Yes. So
the Gulf Fire. So
it gives you just a little bit of info about Snake's background and his experiences and what he's done for a living, because we got to land this. What if I'm late? No more Hartford Peace Summit. No more Snake Plissken. I will pause for a moment as he's preparing to get in this glider to go to fly into the prison. That this global peace summit, the world is hinging on a peace summit in Hartford, Connecticut.
Where would you host it? I can't think of a more peaceful place in the world.
Yeah, when I think global peace, I think Hartford, Connecticut.
Well, you can't do it in New York.
No,
that's where the prison's
at. Of course, you got to go someplace. And I mean, you want to stay in the greater New England area. Maybe show off some lighthouses, to the foreign dignitaries.
They couldn't do it in East St. Louis because it looked like New York.
So Hartford will do. We're going to broker global peace here in Hartford, Connecticut.
Right.
So Snake gets in the glider, and a little like engine plane kind of tows it up, and then lets him go. And so he's gliding into Manhattan.
Complete with whooshing sound effects.
Yes. And again, you get the 3D camera trickery. It's kind of like the the glider's point of view kind of thing. And again, it looks so good. And I was reading
it does.
That the way they film this is that they took the miniature and they put like a special tape around these buildings, and to make it look like it was an animated 3D model, when in fact it was just tape and
flying over miniature
camera trickery, and it looks so awesome.
It does.
So,
and it just, the resourcefulness of special effects back when you didn't have CGI to save everything.
yeah. So Snake,
Another lost art.
yes, exactly. You got to make do without going back to the easy way out. So Snake lands on top of the World Trade Center because it's the highest location on the island. It's also the only location where in a glider he could take off to go back from a free fall. As you mentioned before, Oz, this was primarily filmed in East St. Louis.
Yes.
So
yes,
why
East
St. Louis? Yeah.
There was a fire back in the 70s that ravaged a lot of St. Louis. Not like Chicago fire level, but in the late 70s there was a fire that hit the East St. Louis kind of area, and East St. Louis has always been a more destitute area of that metropolitan system.
Troubled community.
Yes, it always has been, unfortunately. And so it had the look that they were wanting. They couldn't afford to film in New York, and they definitely couldn't afford to shut down parts of New York for filming. But East St. Louis had the same big city look that New York had at that time. Obviously not the same scale, but it also had the closed storefronts and just dilapidated feel that they were looking for. And St. Louis was very excited to be a part of this. They were very excited to bring some of the film industry there. As a lot of big cities are, but and in hindsight, it's like what a slap in the face to the city of East St. Louis to be like, you couldn't have done anything better to prepare us for this dystopian prison state.
Yeah,
you look exactly how we want you to, and so that's where they filmed it, just kind of in our backyard.
So Snake gets out of the glider. He was told that there's an elevator that'll take him halfway down the World Trade Center, and he's got to do the last 50 stories on foot.
Right.
Cuts to him exiting. He doesn't seem out of breath at all.
No.
He must be in great cardiovascular shape.
He's Snake.
He's
Snake.
He's Plissken.
What I really enjoy about this too is, this is like a secret rescue mission for everybody but Snake. Like he comes out, machine gun, instantly where's the president? Yeah. Like he's on a mission. He's not trying to keep it a secret. And, heads to the escape pod, and the amount of time passing, is unrealistic, because he's like, okay, they debrief him at 2,200 hours or 22 hours left or whatever. By the time he gets where he's going, 1850, he finds Air Force One. There's no other survivors, and he picks up the first pulse reading of the president. So he follows that pulse reading to the Fox Theater, where there's a musical going on. You got
to find entertainment and joy someplace while in the penitentiary.
And very few women. We see 2 women in the entire cast, as being imprisoned. And so, you've got this show going on, and audience members having a good time, especially Cabby. We're introduced to Cabby here.
He's having a great time.
Right. So, and Cabby knows who Snake is. He recognizes him. You're Snake Plissken. I thought you were dead. We hear this a lot as we see. And Plissken follows the pulse reading downstairs and finds the pulse monitor. And we think right away, it's over, right? He found the president. Some guy's getting wailed on. It's not the president. It's I've seen that actor before, but it's not the president, obviously. So now it really is a wild goose chase. Snake is on Manhattan Island, 18 hours to go, looking for the president of the United States with no leads. So now he's got to investigate.
There's people coming out everywhere. He's back on the street, and there's people coming up from the sewers. There's people running down the street. And so he ducks into a chock full of nuts restaurant, and confronted by a woman there who's hiding from the crazies. The actress whose name I am forgetting right now,
Susan Headley.
There we go. Was married to Kurt Russell at the time.
Yeah.
Interesting little coincidence there.
Yeah. So why not? There's 2 women in this film. One of them is married to our lead actor. The other one is married to our director.
Yep.
So
it's a very for better and for worse, it's a very macho film.
Well,
yeah,
it's less macho than last week's. At least we have females in this one.
That's true. She recognizes him because everyone knows who Snake Plissken is.
You're Snake Plissken. I thought you were dead.
And she's immediately pulled through the floor by these crazies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're hungry.
Yeah.
And this is the time of night that they come out to eat, and apparently they just eat whoever they can get their hands on.
We get a great, as Snake runs away, we get a great, again, Carpenter shot of those hallway alley scenes that I think I've pointed out for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just showing, the kind of claustrophobic feel and kind of, the walls literally closing in on our hero in some ways.
I think he really cut his chops on this back in the 70s with Assault on Precinct 13. Yeah. Like, I feel like that a large part of that movie is that style of shot, down an alley, down a hallway, survival in an enclosed space.
Cabby pulls up and saves Snake. Snake,
of course, he does.
And of course, Snake right away is like, you got to take me to the president. Well, the Duke's got him. The Duke of New York, the president, number one.
Right. You meet him once, then you're dead.
Oh, Ernest Borgnine, he's the greatest.
as he chucks a Molotov cocktail down the
casually
alleyway.
Throws a Molotov cocktail to fend off these people who are running after them, trying to eat them.
Right. So, Cabby tells Snake, I can't take you to meet the Duke because, like I said, once you meet him once, then you're dead. But I will take you to meet Brain. And so they show up at the library, the New York Metropolitan Library, where Brain is now taken over, played by Harry Dean Stanton. And he shows up, and they're told to go away. It's a very Wizard of Oz-like scene, knocking on the, go away. Well, this is the witches, Dorothy. But I got Snake Plissken with me. Oh, well, if you got Snake Plissken, come on in. Yeah. And so, Snake knows Brain, and Brain knows Snake. He thought he was dead. Yeah. And they both know Fresno Bob.
Yep, Fresno Bob. They go way back.
Yeah. He bailed on Fresno Bob. And so quickly Brain's on board, with what's going on. We also meet Maggie, who the Duke has given to Brain to be his lover.
Yes.
But I feel like Maggie genuinely had feelings for Brain as well.
Yeah, and she's very capable. She's kind of
very capable.
She's kind of the level-headed one of the group. There's tension between Snake and Brain because of this past incident in Kansas City with Fresno Bob. And so she's the one who's kind of like, all right, boys, put it back where it needs to be. Right. We got it. We're on the clock. We got to get something done here.
And Brain is not a physically dangerous person. No, I mean, there's by no means is Snake intimidated by Brain, but Brain's a little slippery. Like, I think he's a very fair weather fan on whose side he's going to be on.
Speaking of slippery, Oz, did you notice the oil rig in the middle of the library?
I did. I did notice the oil rig.
The Brain and Maggie are operating.
Well, I'm sure that oil rig was somewhere else on Manhattan Island, and they relocated it. Where did they get an oil rig? Like, they're not in New York.
I guess they manufactured it out of spare parts.
To drill for oil in New York,
in the middle of the public library.
In the middle of the public library, where they go upstairs to meet Brain. Yeah. So it's not even like they're drawing oil from downstairs.
There's a lot of shale they had to get through to get to that oil.
Right, between the first and second story.
Yeah. Texas tea.
Right. you got to take a lot of liberties to suspend your. It's a great ride, but you don't want to look a little too closely.
You don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
Right. Of course, there's an oil rig. How do you think he keeps the lights on?
Yeah. So the group leaves the library. Brain says he has a map of the 69th Street Bridge that is mined, but he has a map that can navigate safely across it.
Yeah, Maggie says they got that map from the last person who made it across the 69th Street Bridge. Again, don't dig too closely. How did said person get the map back to Maggie if they've already crossed the bridge? But whatever.
Yeah.
But Brain knows how to get across. Yes. He knows where all the mines are planted.
Cabby hears the Duke's car coming, and we are introduced to the Duke of New York, who drives up in what could possibly be the greatest vehicle of all time.
Yes, if this vehicle were located in the Volo Auto Museum, I would have attended it multiple times. You've got, is it teal? Would you say a teal?
I think, yeah,
light blue,
like a tealish color. You know, it's very, again, it's almost the entire movie is at night, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Yes, yeah, you've got a Caribbean colored, long-nosed, long-tailed Cadillac with lit chandeliers over each of the headlights.
Hydraulics. Yeah, hydraulics. Oh, it's amazing. It's the best vehicle ever.
They probably actually borrowed that from Isaac Hayes. Like, can I just bring my own vehicle to the set? Like, we need your car.
I suppose you could play this character too. I mean, you're clearly the only one who can safely drive the vehicle.
Right. It's such a cool car.
Chandeliers literally mounted on the hood.
Right. Yeah. So the Duke rides with style.
Yes, he does.
But yeah, Cabby he knows the sound of Duke's engine. We got to get out of here. Cabby just bolts. He says, we got to go. Everybody stands there for a beat. And by the time they turn around, Cabby's already backing out, down the block. He's gone. And the others just go hide along the side of a building, like in the moonlight. Yeah. But that's where they're going. And so the Duke, again, we're right in front of the library. The Duke is rolled up to Brain's place because he wants that map. Yeah. I got to get it. I need that map. So, kind of a underlying plot line here of we've got Snake looking for the president, we got the Duke looking for a map, and both converge on Brain.
We are reintroduced to the guy with the big hair, the famed actor you saw before, establishing him as the Duke's kind of right hand man. So that's ultimately
Romero is his name.
That's right.
Romero,
in reference to who, Oz?
J.C. Romero from George Romero.
Yes. The Minnesota Twins left-handed pitcher, J.C. Romero.
Yeah, exactly. It predates a little bit, but no, George Romero, director of many great social commentary horror films: Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Martin, Creepshow. He's done a lot of amazing films.
Yep. And who Carpenter also referenced in They Live, right at the end of that film as well.
Yes, he did.
So 2 references.
And They Live. When you said They Live, my mind was thinking The Thing, because I was like, oh yeah, he did. Yeah, but yes, They Live as well. So yeah, there are a lot of homage playing here.
So Snake sneaks up, basically steals a car from one of Duke's men. The 3 of them get in. They're attacked by more people. They make it through part of New York, and they arrive at this train station, this old train station. Brain says the president's in the last car.
Yeah.
So Brain and Maggie walk up and kind of distract the guards there. Snake is sneaking across the top of the train cars.
Right.
I will say, as Brain and Maggie walk up, you get another amazing Carpenter tracking shot. It's kind of right on like Maggie's hip, and it kind of follows them, walking up and approaching this group. It kind of gives a sense of the danger involved, and you're literally with the 2 characters as they're walking into danger.
Yeah. And if you're not paying attention, you don't even see Snake, running across the top of the train cars, because he's just in the background of a shot. It's not cutting to him running. It's, so if you blink, you miss it kind of thing. So we find the president.
He's alive.
He is alive. Snake drops down, takes out one guard. The other one shoots him in the leg with an arrow before being taken out. So now we've got the president. Snake and the president escape, but they get caught by Duke's men. And guess what? Duke's heard of Snake Plissken.
I heard you were
dead. Thought he was dead. He thought he was dead. And knocked Snake out. So now we're several hours later. Again, clock's timing not only on the summit, but also on the charges in Snake's neck. We wake up several hours later, and we see helicopter surveillance scan. They see nobody is on the streets of the prison. They're flying overhead, reporting back to Hawk and Remy. There's nobody out there. Duke's taking shots at the president who's tied up, and he wants. And when I say taking shots, I don't mean throwing punches. They've got the president like chained to a wall,
literally shooting,
crucified style, as he's taking shots at him with Snake's gun. And Duke wants Brain's diagram of that bridge, and Snake's timer's been removed as well. Snake's got 2 bracelets on. He's got a timer letting him know how much time's left on his charges, and he's also got another little bracelet that's got a tracking button installed upon it. So upon pressing that button, Hawk knows where he's at and they can descend upon him. Both of those are now removed. So now Snake's hobbled by the arrow in his leg, missing both references of location and time, no gun. I mean, he's back on his own.
Yeah, Duke's shooting at the president. He makes the president yell, "You're the Duke of New York. You're A#1."
A#1.
The Duke shoots open, probably by accident, this briefcase, which is dangling there, and a cassette falls out, and the crony with the big hair comes and takes the cassette. In the meantime, the Hawk's helicopter lands. The briefcase was left out. And back at the base, they're reading the note that was left inside the briefcase, and it says that amnesty for all the prisoners must be given, or the president will die.
Yes. So ranch up the stakes even more. Cut back. Brain and Maggie have now flipped sides again. Brain and Maggie, they trick their way into the president's room. It doesn't. I mean, Brain is called Brain for a reason, but I think. It doesn't have to have a lot of brains, because it's really easy to just outsmart everybody in the prison. All you have to do is tell them what you want to do, and when they say no, you just say, "Well, the Duke told me to," and then they just, "Oh, okay."
Well, they're so terrified of the Duke that, like, just even at a mention of his name, they're like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. That checks out."
Yeah. So Romero and crew are guarding the president. Brain shows up. Duke wants me to whatever with the president, and Romero's wearing Cabby's hat now. And so he traded it, and he traded for his hat. And so, we're almost led to believe that, well, that's the end of Cabby. Like if these killers, these awful prisoners have got Cabby's hat. But Brain and Maggie get in there, enter the president's room, and they kill everybody guarding him, including Romero. And in a death scene that felt as long as the opening credits, like stabs him in the belly.
He really milked that.
Yeah, a little bit. That's all right, though.
Yeah, that's okay. He's a very over-the-top character anyway, so I guess he deserves an over-the-top death.
Fair enough. So Snake has now found himself in a gladiator David versus Goliath matchup with arguably some of the best facial hair I've ever seen.
Oh, it's amazing facial hair. Snake is shirtless, revealing a cobra tattoo on his belly.
Where the tail we don't see.
No.
The tail of the snake extends below the belt line. So, ladies, wink.
Uh-oh. Ooh, ah. If I guess in this circumstance, if your nickname is Snake, you have to get a snake tattoo. Does that mean that, like, I don't know, and pick another nickname, does that mean that you must have a tattoo of it? Because that's the rules that the movie apparently plays by.
Right. With my nickname being Oz, unfortunately, I've got a giant Emerald City tattoo on my back. And so it's I'm a little uncomfortable with it. Ben Affleck and I got our back tattoos at the same time. And so Ben Affleck's a good friend of mine. But I got our back tattoos at the same time, and we should have gone to a little better place. The guy he knew that lived on 4th was probably not the best place to go to get our tattoos, but it's all right.
At the time, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah, it's like I hadn't seen Ben in a while, so it was our chance, and that was his idea. He had a couple bucks. He said he'd go ahead and pay for it. It's not even green, my Emerald City tattoo on my back. It's just a black outline with tape, a lot like the 3D modeling in this movie.
He had just gotten done doing Chasing Amy, and he was like, "Man, this movie's trash. What kind of plot is this?"
Yeah, it was between Chasing Amy and Geely. So, what you do what you got to do.
Yeah. So the lesson there is kudos to Ben Affleck.
Right. Our John Carpenter, Bobby the Brain Heenan, with a stable of actors, of course, has to have a wrestling match. Yes. So, and with phases, like phase 1, physical match. Phase 2, well, guess what? Now you're going to have baseball bats with nails driven through them and a trash can lid as a shield. Very Gladiator-like. Snake wins, of course, drives a nail bat right into the back of this giant's head, and then notices the guy standing there is wearing his tracking bracelet, one of the guys at ringside. So he jumps down real quick, activates the tracer on this bracelet so that Hawk and crew know where they're at. So now the fight's over. The Duke leaves, and it's revealed to everyone that Brain has taken the president. And it's a race against time. We got less than an hour before everything hits the fan.
So Snake slips away because, fortunately, chaos ensues as, we got to track down Brain. So Snake's able to get away. And now we're at, we cut to the roof of the World Trade Center, kind of an awkward cut from this Gladiator ring to Brain and Maggie are up there. Snake has made his way from, I believe the arena was supposed to be Madison Square Garden. From there, all the way to the World Trade Center in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
and he...
It's New York. How big is New York? I mean yes, it's...
it's not the...
Manhattan Island.
It's not the largest city in the world. I think technically
Manhattan Island, I looked it up. Manhattan Island is 22.82 square miles. And this is Snake Plissken.
Yeah.
It's not going to take him that long.
No, he can make it.
So, so we, like you said, we got Maggie and Brain and the president atop the World Trade Center. And they've found themselves in a fight.
Yeah. So apparently these guys chased them up 100 stories. Fighting on top of the building. The bad guys pushed the glider off because that's the whole reason they went up there was to try to get in the glider.
Right.
They escape from these guys, run down another 50 flight of stairs. Brain's out of breath, but nobody else is.
Including the president.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Donald Pleasance.
But, he's in great shape.
Yeah.
He got himself in tip-top shape
when
for this role.
fit, I think early 80s Donald Pleasance.
Donald the Rock Pleasance is what he went by back then. But Brain, of course, he knows where the president's stolen tape is because Snake's got the president now. He's with them. I need that tape. Yeah. So, Brain knows where the tape is, and they get to Brain's car. We're going to get out of here. We've got the president. I know where the tape's at, and I got a car. And I got the map. I know how to get across that bridge. They get to Brain's car, and it's dead. Probably because they were trying to... The engine of the car was just a henchman.
Yeah, they popped the lid, and the entire engine has been replaced, and there's a guy in there.
In a matter of minutes.
Yes.
But there's just a man in there with a gun waiting. Yep. And so they were apparently run Brain's car, Flintstone style. Just have somebody in the hood just running with feet. So Brain's car's dead. 4 and out. They're all cornered by the Duke again. And they flee. There turns into a gunfight. And they run off. And guess who shows up to save him again?
Cabby. And you hear Cabby's kind of like 1930s, 40s big band music playing from his cab, which is always playing.
That song.
That's his musical cue.
It's been stuck in my head since we watched the movie.
Me too.
It's in there right now. I can't get it out. So Cabby has the tape.
Yeah, because he does.
Romero wasn't kidding. He traded his tape. He traded the tape because it meant nothing to Romero. I didn't know it was on it. He traded the tape to Cabby in exchange for his hat.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 23 minutes left.
Yeah, and we approach the
everything's put together.
Climactic
we've got the president. Yeah, we've got it all. We've got the president. We got the tape. We've got a way out. We've got the map. We're good to go. This is how we got to go.
So they in Cabby's cab, they get towards the 69th Street Bridge. They start maneuvering their way through. Snake is driving. Duke in his chandelier car is in hot pursuit. So it's just Duke.
Yes.
So it's all down to just them.
And he's sweating.
Yeah, he is.
Isaac Hayes was sweating. Just the perspiration on his face it's tense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it did. It was a fun chase scene. Why they didn't let Brain drive, I don't know.
Oh, he had to look at the map.
Yeah, but he knew where everything was. How he was going to drive his own car. How was he going to look at the map then?
I don't know. Maybe.
But anyways, of course, Snakes. I guess it wouldn't be as climactic if our main actor was in the backseat.
Yeah, all this kind of got his feet up, sipping a latte.
Right. So, so Snake's driving. Brain's hauling out orders. We find out Snake doesn't know his left from his right sometimes. And they hit the first mine, and it just splits the car in half.
Yeah.
Like, everyone lives. It detonated. Apparently, it's a 2-piece car.
Yeah.
It's a double wide. It's a double wide car. And it just splits. You got the front goes one way, the back just hangs back. Everybody's alive, and they're now on.
Cabby beefed it.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cabby was in the front seat passenger side, and apparently the only place where the mine really detonated and really did any damage, other than sawing the entire car in half.
Yes, yeah, and leaving no damage to the front passenger side of the car. But
Cabby's gone.
When it was going to turn, but I think in fairness, I could see Board 9 actually probably asking for that. Like, John, if we're gonna turn this into a foot race after this point, can we just kill my character off? Because I can't keep up.
This is Ernest Borgnine we're talking about here.
Who do you think I am, Donald Pleasance?
He's not Donald Pleasance fit. He's Ernest Borgnine. Give the man a break.
Right. So the Duke, he's gotten pretty lucky because these guys have only hit one mine. The Duke is so far back that he's not like following their swerves. Mm-hmm. He's so far back there that they can actually maneuver quite a ways by foot without him catching up. So he's guessing pretty correctly on where these mines are. And they're running now.
Yeah, they're on foot.
Yes. And
President, Brain, Maggie, and Snake.
Yes. And President, Maggie, and Snake go right. Brain tells them they should have went left as he goes left, and he steps on a mine.
So Brain's gone. Brain's dead.
Yeah. And Maggie is distraught.
Yeah. So Snake tells Maggie, keep moving. He's dead. Come on.
Right.
She stays.
And I'm going to stay back. She takes the gun, and she just stands there firing shots at the Duke's car as he's headed down. And it's pretty grisly here, really.
That's the exact word I was just thinking. Duke runs her over. He just runs her over. Crashes in the process, but Maggie's gone.
Yes, and I mean, just a bloody mess.
Yeah.
And so now it is a foot race. Mm-hmm. You've got the president and Snake ahead, and the Duke, running from behind. And the Duke running was it gave me Running Man vibes, the Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi movie, of when they're all trying to run away from what was his name? It wasn't Dynamo and it wasn't Buzzsaw, but it was the guy with the flamethrowers and the jetpack. I can't think of what that character's name.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but I know.
But he's just they're running from him and he's just jogging. It's just I just got that feel when I was watching Isaac Hayes running down the road of like just this unstoppable force headed at him.
So they're running after them. Snake's got 90 seconds left. 90 seconds on the clock until his neck goes kaplooey. They get to the wall. They get to the 50-foot wall. The president is pulled to safety. Snake sees Duke coming. He hides. He tackles him. Duke's about to take out Snake, and the Duke gets lit up by a machine gun.
Yeah. Snake's being lifted up the wall by the rope. He's won the fight temporarily. And then we see a hand stop the rope. And I thought at first it was probably Hawk, just kind of betraying him. But it wasn't. It was the president that, like you said, just lights him up, reminding him that he's A number one.
Hey, number one, you're the Duke. Oh, Donald Pleasance.
Watching Donald, because Donald Pleasance, he stays pretty reserved in about all the roles you see him in, Halloween or whatever. But it is fun to watch him just lose it for a minute.
Donald, you could chew some scenery here for a couple of seconds.
Right,
just
for
let
it.
Loose.
But the torture and agony he'd been through, because again, he's the president. He's never seen what things are like on this side of America, and so it's his pain is real.
So they get Snake up. They deactivate the explosives in the neck. With seconds to spare. So he's good.
2 seconds. I made a note of that. 2 seconds left. So they deactivate those charges.
So we cut to a little while later at the base, and the president is getting cleaned up. There's a whole team of people, a fleet of people there, grooming him, shaving him, cleaning him, applying makeup.
Yeah, covering the bruises.
The president thanks Snake. Snake has walked up to him. Hawk is there as well. So, I'll do anything for you. Just name it. I ask for a moment of your time. And Snake just simply says, a lot of people died out there. What do you think about that? To save you. And President kind of, his eyes go back to this mirror that they're using to kind of primp him and clean him. Oh, I want to thank them. This nation appreciates their sacrifice. Look, I'm on the air in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's very emotionless and very political.
Yeah, immediately resorts to his political facade.
Yes. Yeah, like I've been through hell. Yeah. But that's over now. So
and I'm the
back.
I'm the president.
This is
again.
what's important, right? So Hawk asked Snake, "You gonna kill me now?" Snake's too tired. I'm too tired to do that.
Maybe later.
So Hawk offers him a job, because if someone threatened to kill me, and then I asked them if they were going to do it, and they said not right now, I'm too tired. I don't think I would invite them to stick around. Well, do you want to work for me then? Because we've got other jobs. Knowing that, well, you're going to freshen up and probably kill me then. But Hawk offers him a job, and Snake just walks away.
But not before, Hawk.
No, this is fun.
Yeah,
I love this part.
Hawk calls him Snake, and again, because this is their thing, Snake replies, "The name's Plissken." Coming full circle.
Gets it wrong every time.
Full circle from the beginning, where it was the opposite way.
Well, and I just thought of it. You've got this fun play too, that like hawks and snakes are enemies of each other in the wild.
I never thought of
that. And so this is kind of fun, as I'm like, yeah, you've got these two at odds, and they're constantly bickering back and forth. But at the same time, it's like they've needed each other here. But yeah, a hawk and a snake that that they're mortal enemies of one another.
Yeah, even though they don't like each other, I still pick up on the fact that there's a little bit of mutual respect there.
Yeah, I think so,
because they're both kind of cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, just on opposite sides.
Yeah, only one works with the system, one works against the system. So we cut to the last scene in the movie where the president is live on TV, and I present this in the hopes that our nations may live in peace. So he's not able to make it up to Hartford, but he still wants to play the contents of this cassette tape.
Yes.
And what starts up Oz but
this big bad song as the president just stands there looking at the camera, just looking like a fool.
Yep. Yeah, he knows exactly what's happening, that he's been playing. So it's Cabby's music. Snake walks away, shreds the contents of the tape.
Yeah.
Fade to black.
I really think I think what happened in that instance was fully dependent on how the president answered Snake's question. I think if it was a heartfelt, genuine answer to a lot of people died, how do you feel about this? I think you probably would have given him the tape, and it would have been a much different or operating as intended ending.
Yeah.
But because he didn't, this obviously flipped, and like, okay, well, this is the tape you're getting then.
Yeah. And
it's pretty ingenious of Snake to grab both tapes of Cabby's cab before they take off running.
Yep.
So always one step ahead, that Snake.
And that's it. That's how the film ends.
That's it. Yeah. Very tight. We're looking at hour and 37 minutes or something like that. And so it's just a fun adventure. It's still fairly early Carpenter, 81. He's got Halloween and I think The Fog under his belt already. Looked up some of the numbers here. Escape from New York, it grossed $25 million that year. It was the number 24 movie of 1981, which I missed this too. I'm looking at this list right now of the top grossing movies of 81. And man, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman 2, 9 to 5, Stripes, Arthur, Cannonball Run, a James Bond movie for your eyes only, Fox and the Hound, The Four Seasons, and Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams. Those are your top 10. But outside that top 10, American Werewolf in London, History of the World Part 1, Great Muppet Caper, Clash of the Titans, The Jazz Singer. One movie ahead of Escape from New York was Halloween 2, and the movie right afterwards was Body Heat.
Okay.
And so, but you've got Friday the 13th Part 2, Raging Bull, all coming out. Like, I know it was late 1980, but Empire Strikes Back was number 36 that year. and so I'm looking at this like The Howling and Cinderella from Disney.
A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
Like, man, we just don't have Scanners is on there. But yeah, it was number 24 that year, so not bad.
Not a bad showing. Not a bad showing.
This list has 121 movies on it, and it's number 24 between Halloween 2 and Body Heat. Mm-hmm. And you figure Carpenter's getting residuals from Halloween 2 anyway. Yeah. And Donald Pleasance was in that one as well. And so, yeah, solid for what it was, and which just shows you too that, like a lot of Carpenter films, this movie is not made for everybody, but it still sold over 9 million tickets. Mm-hmm. So, very impressive. Still
a very, very solid showing at the box office.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it's just because it was fun. It was tight. There wasn't really any dull moments. Yeah. It just, the plot kept moving, and it was enjoyable.
Oz,
top to bottom.
Oz, how would you rate this movie? How would you rate Escape from New York?
I would rate Escape from New York. Oh, that's a good question. I would give this, on a scale of 10 eye patches, I would give it 9.5 eye patches.
9.5.
9.5 eye patches.
So that last half is covering half of an eye?
Yes, okay. Yes. The top half.
Yeah.
So, how would you rate it?
On a scale of 32 landmines, I think that this comes in at a solid 27 mines.
27 out of
27 out of 32 landmines. Yeah,
fair enough. Mm. So on a scale of 100 bridges, I would rank this as the 69th best bridge.
Because it was the 69th Street Bridge there.
There you go.
I see what you did there. Clever girl.
So, all right. So, time for our 3, 2, 1s.
Yep, we got the 3, 2, 1s where every week we each give 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 hus for the movie that we have reviewed. Oz, you want to kick things off?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. My first good is I love the little play how everybody has heard of Snake Plissken, but we never find out why. Everybody has heard of him. They think that he's dead. Everybody, with the exception of the president, every major character has heard of Snake when they meet him, and they all tell him, "I think you're dead." And I love that this has been carried over into the Roadhouse universe, as everyone has heard of Dalton, Patrick Swayze's character. Everybody's heard of Dalton, and they all thought he was bigger. And so, I like to think that it all started with Snake, that everybody knows who Snake is, and everybody's thought he's dead. But we're talking everybody from Brain to Hawk to Remy to the Duke. Everybody's heard of Snake.
Maggie's heard of Snake. Yeah.
The Chuck Full of Nuts lady, she's heard of Snake. And so but we never know why.
Yeah.
It's like, what has he done that is so impressive that everybody knows who Snake is? So that's my first good. I just thought it was fun. I also love how restricted and resourceful cinema was at portraying the future before CGI could save the day. I think a lot of futuristic 80s movies happened to be dystopian because it was much easier and cheaper to just trash everything than it was to build out this elaborate setting. Start some fires, wreck some cars, and then tie it to some political statement, and you could have a dystopian future at a very low cost. Because all you have to do to make the future look dystopian is take how it looks now and make it look worse. It's a lot more expensive and a little harder to take what we have now and make it look improved, but you can't do that unless you're building better buildings, or else you set it in a fantasy science fiction type of atmosphere. And so I really love that problem solving ability of, we want to set this in the future, but how can we convince people it's not right now? You could say that the year is different, and in this one they went from 81 to 97. I mean, they filmed it in 80, or it came out in 81. But the future was 97. But whereas the future in Blade Runner was full of flying cars and neon lights, it's like, but the budget was there for that. They could go whole hog. Whereas with this, we're like, we want a dystopian future like Blade Runner, but we don't have the budget for flying cars and all these special effects. So we're just going to have to really tame it down. So I love that experimental, just resourcefulness of the filmmakers. And I've said it for weeks now. The Carpenter Score.
Yeah.
I just keep coming back to him. I honestly, genuinely do. He's got a series of scores that have never been in films. They're called, and he's released them on albums. They're called the Lost Scores. Like I've added them to my playlists on Apple Music. Like I listen to them all the time. I love that synth feel, that synth score, and especially the Carpenters. And so to find a couple other albums that are just more scores that he's never used, I listen to them outside of watching a movie. They're just really, really good. So those are my three goods. What are yours?
My three goods, one of them is similar to yours, and that's just a little more specifically with the effects, just that computer modeling effect that they did, where it was done, it was all practical, whether it's the miniatures or, putting like neon or reflective tapes on the miniatures to make it look like it's a computer modeling sequence. But it's so brilliant. It looks, there's the physicality and the tangibility to it that sometimes you lose when CGI isn't done right. And it's just, it's brilliant. It's simple. It's amazing. And it gets the point across and it looks authentic.
Yes.
My second good is, and this is one where I'm picking at kind of low-hanging fruit here, but like the chandeliers on the Duke's car. I mean, it's just like you can't. It's so great because like people typically associate chandeliers with classiness or opulence or money, and so he takes what he thinks of as opulence and grandeur and power and authority and sticks them on the top of a car. Because in this prison, I think you get the impression that transportation is a big thing here, which that's going to come up in my third good here in a moment. But they have the big arena in Madison Square Garden, but other than that, there's not really a gathering point, and so you have to bring your opulence with you. You have to bring the authority with you, and so he literally does that by sticking them on the front of his car. Right,
and everybody knows when he's coming.
Yeah, because they know the sound of his engine.
Right.
And then my last good is the world building. And again, it's seeded throughout the film, whether it be a reference to World War III, whether it be a reference to Snake, flying a glider over Leningrad, whether it be a reference to the Hartford Peace Summit. It's given you just enough to get a sense of how dire things are outside of the Manhattan area that the entire film is set in. And I love that, how you still have to, it forces you to kind of use your imagination to piece together what happened with Fresno Bob in Kansas City, or who else is going to be attending this Hartford Peace Summit, or what's really at stake.
Or added to the fact too that things have gotten so bad in America that you evacuated New York City to make room for a prison. The largest city in the country, you have relocated everybody that lives there because you needed that island as a prison.
All right, so Oz, what are your two bads?
My two bads. The first one, and it's probably not fair, but I'm going to do it anyway, is the Romero character. Everybody else in the movie, I feel, stayed within their zone. And the Duke was an over-the-top character, but he didn't act it over the top. And Snake, was Clint Eastwood in disguise, but it wasn't annoying and obnoxious. But the Romero character, he definitely checked a box of 80s cinema weirdos. To me, he came off, and I know Blade Runner came a year later, but he came off to me as a dollar store version of Priss. Sure. Daryl Hannah's character.
Yeah, I can see that.
But you've got this though in 80s cinema. You've got these weirdos. You've got this Romero character. You've got Priss from Blade Runner. You've got Evil Ed from Fright Night. You've got the bikers in Weird Science that are just weirdos. They're not movie punks. They're just weirdos, and that's okay. And I think because back in the 80s, attacking somebody who didn't fit your mold of normalcy was what we did. And I'd like to think that we've made some strides in getting away from that. But this, was a character that he was just He was just bizarre, just a bizarre character, and he was in a prison, so you got to give it that. But he's just I don't know. It just was a little grating.
Sure.
Just the physical acting of it. I mean, everything about it was just like, oh, come on, man! Like this is you're in a big time Hollywood production, and you're just overdoing it,
hamming it up.
Right. Just everything from the death scene to, like, I was fine with the intro, with the giving the finger and just very just deadpan, delivery. But just any other time, it was just, everything was so, just to the 11th on the dial of effort. So it just, that was my first one. The second one is, and it is what it is. But nobody ever seemed in peril in this movie. Like I mentioned earlier, Manhattan Island is 22.82 square miles, and everything that happens in this movie happens in just a few hours. Nobody's ever really in danger. Cabby shows up exactly when he needs to, at the right place and the right time, to keep the plot moving along. None of our hero characters even died until the final few minutes of the film, and that was just to thin the herd. So there was really no feeling of peril. Even when Snake found, when he went to the Fox Theater and found that the president no longer had on his tracking bracelet, he didn't even, there was no head scratching, like, what do I do now? It's just, okay, I guess I got to go, and it just, everything happened because it was supposed to happen. And, and that doesn't detract from the movie. It was still a very fun ride. But just there was no sense of danger. There was no peril. I mean, Snake's in the ring with this Goliath of a figure, and I wasn't worried about him. I knew he was going to win. There was just moments where it could have ratcheted up the tension of, is he going to get out of this? But there was never there. Everything happened, and everything moved along as it was supposed to. So those are my two bads, and they're nitpicky.
Sure.
So
my two bads are, the first is how Cabby got the tape. And maybe there's a chance I might be missing something here, but how did Cabby know that this tape had value to it?
Right. Yeah, he didn't.
The tape, they shot the tape fell out of the briefcase. They took the tape. I mean, I don't know if someone listened to it or whatnot, but how would Cabby know? He's going to trade his favorite hat for this tape, and he just happens to have it at the end, and it was all too convenient. Oh, that tape you need? Oh, this thing right here?
What's right here?
So that's my bad, and it's just, I don't know, it's too convenient, and again, and you could say that about, and you kind of alluded to this as well. You could say that about some of the other aspects in this film, that like he made it from Madison Square Garden to the World Trade Center in 8 minutes, right? Yeah. So, my other bad is that there's only two female characters in the film, and they're treated pretty poorly. The chock full of nuts lady, kind of was there to basically just establish that, yes, that it's dangerous and be careful, and then she's pulled it in the floor and eaten, assumedly. And the other one, Maggie, has a little bit of an arc to her, and then she is the one who kind of provides some balance to the characters, or to Brain and Snake, but there's not much else to her, and you had mentioned earlier that the Duke gave her to Brain just to kind of pacify him, and it is almost a gift. So she's an object, she's an item. There's that whole, I would say gifts. Yeah, they were on display. Yeah. So there's that whole Hollywood trope. And they gave Maggie a little bit of redemption at the end, but it right before she gets plowed over in the Duke's car. So there's some problematic elements to that, and we'll leave it at, we'll use the word problematic and just leave it at that. Right. So Oz, that leaves us with our one Hus. Yeah. You had mentioned earlier, when the president gets jettisoned off of Air Force One in this bright red pod with the presidential seal on it. Okay. So my is the American president gets lost in the only maximum security prison in the country, and you're trusting one guy to get him out. No military. You just, the prisoners run the prison. Mm-hmm. You're trusting one guy to get him out. And I know that they're trying to keep it covert, but Snake
must have missed that memo, because there was nothing he was doing that was trying to make him fit in or infiltrate a group, or, he went in from the start. I'm looking for the president. Where's he at? And it's like, it was,
there's nothing subtle.
No, there was nothing subtle or secretive about this mission, other than, well, we tried to send our forces in and were sent back. So we're going to send in a guy that I have, that I know, and he's going to get, and of course he did get the job done, but it's like, that's it. That the American president, on the way to his peace summit, Air Force One is taken over, and the best we're going to do is send in a guy we were sending in anyway, and tell him, if you can get him out in 24 hours, we'll let you free. Like, that's that was plan B.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to save the American president by trusting a guy who's going to spend life in prison.
Fresno Bob wasn't available.
That's true. Yeah, brain could have told you that. So that was my little head scratching moment of like, okay, this is our plan B.
Yeah.
It just shows how awful America is at this point. If like, well, this is the best we got.
He's going to be there.
We tried to we told him to give him back, and they said no. So, Snake, it's your job.
My is the mini oil derrick that's in the middle of the New York Public Library. Again, it's supposed to establish the fact that that Brain has a very specific purpose for this population, and for the Duke, that he's there to provide fuel for their vehicles, so that he can continue to kind of parade around and lead the masses here in New York. But like, there's an oil derrick in the middle of the library in the middle of Manhattan, and again, I don't, I can't cite my own personal knowledge of the underworld, the literal underworld of New York City, but I know that there's sewers and tunnels and trains and things everywhere.
Well, yeah, because we just watched all the crazies climb out of those sewers.
So that, again, they must have
apparently they're swimming in oil down there.
And to drill down a long ways to find that sweet oil.
To get our barrel a day.
And let alone refine it into gasoline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's why he's the brain. I mean,
right. I envision, like, is that Carpenter's idea? Like somebody's sitting there like, you know what? Get me an oil derrick. Yeah. We need a working oil derrick. This will really complete this set.
Kevin, bring in the derrick.
Your brother still got that derrick? We're already using Isaac's car. Yeah. Let's keep Harry Dean.
Harry.
Do you still have an oil derrick? I'm sure he probably goes by Harry Dean.
Yeah, he does.
I hope so. Are you Harry Stanton? I'm Harry Dean.
It's Harry Dean.
You can call me Harry Dean. All right, so that is 1991. That was 1981's Escape from New York, the fourth of our John Carpenter movies that we've covered in our first month of our podcast.
Yes, the fourth and final of the 80s John Carpenter.
Fourth and final. So we are switching gears next month. Hopefully those of you that have joined us for our inaugural month and topic continue to listen, as we are giving ourselves lumps of coal for the month of December.
That we are.
And we're switching directions, and next month's theme is Hallmark movies. You could probably guess that neither Curtis nor myself watch a lot of Hallmark films, but apparently there is a very large following of people that do enjoy these films. So we are going to take it upon ourselves to watch 4 of them next month and review them here on the podcast to see what they're all about, to see what we're missing.
What's the fuss?
Right. There's a possibility that there's a whole genre of film that we're missing out on that really we might find enjoyable, but I'm guessing probably not. And so we are going to do our best to put ourselves through 4 films next month. We're going to kick off next week's episode with You, Me, and the Christmas Trees. Starring Winnie Cooper of Wonder Years fame. I can't even think what her name is off the top of my head.
Just Winnie Cooper. I think
just Winnie Cooper.
Works.
And Kevin's older brother is also in this movie.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's kind of a Wonder Years reunion for these two.
Daniel Stern do the voiceover?
I could only hope so. But You, Me, and the Christmas Trees will debut next week when we kick off our Hallmark Christmas Movies month. I know I'm picking two, and we say Hallmark with some quotations around
Hallmark,
it. Not all four,
Hallmark or Hallmark-esque.
Yes, not all four of our movies are actually going to be on Hallmark.
Produced by the
two are
Hallmark Network.
Yes, they're all coming from the same treasure trove, I'm sure, of acting talent, though. So, where we've covered a lot of dystopia this month in our viewing, I think we'll have a lot of holiday cheer next month as we watch these cookie cutter movies of women finding themselves in a different location and finding love. And so,
Oz, I will find my Christmas prince. One of these holiday seasons. He's out there.
And I just hope that I find mine on a Christmas tree farm in Connecticut because, but yeah, this is, we're going to have a lot of fun here. I hope, as we have Curtis and I have a fine history of putting ourselves through ridiculous situations for our own enjoyment. Yes. And this, I think, will be our next one. So, yeah, I know we'll kick off next week with You, Me, and the Christmas Trees. That'll be my first of two entries into next month. I think, Curtis, you're bringing two from the Netflix world.
From the NCU.
The NCU, the Netflix Christmas universe.
Because apparently all of the Netflix Christmas movies are in a shared universe, which we will dive into more.
Yes, we will get into.
Oz, where can our listeners find us at?
You can find us any of your favorite podcast listening apps. You could find us on our website. If you prefer to watch, you could watch this on YouTube. So we're out there. We are enjoying ourselves. We're looking at things the Things episode, a little drop off in listeners. So hopefully we can bounce back this week and next. But by and large, I mean, we've hit. We've really done well. We've hit a lot of beats that we enjoy. We've up over 100 downloads, and we finally, America, finally regained first place in listening. 61% of our downloads have come from the United States, with Brazil hot on your heels at 27%. But yeah, if we really appreciate your patronage. Tell everybody if they like Carpenter, fine. If that's not your speed. Next week there's a good chance that the Hallmark Christmas movies will be more up your alley. I know that some students of mine I've talked to are very excited about listening to our review of these Hallmark Christmas movies. And actually, You, Me, and the Christmas Trees was referred to me by a student.
It's big in like the 15, 16-year-old population right now.
Yes, and their moms.
Yes, yeah.
So,
it's all my students talk about. Our Hallmark holiday movies.
Yeah, and and Hallmark, they got it. I mean, they roll out so many. They started back in October. I think both of the movies that I'm bringing to the table debuted in October on Hallmark. And it's like, well, if you don't like Halloween movies, you might as well watch Christmas movies. So You, Me, and the Christmas Trees coming out next week. You can listen to that at all your favorite podcasting apps on our website. We share it on social media as well, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Catch us on YouTube, you name it, we're out there. So, keep coming back. Leave us reviews. That helps us out a lot too. Right now we got our listeners, but we don't know what you think. Mm-mm. So, hit us up, in comments or reviews. Let us know what you think, things you like, things you don't like, things you'd like to see changed, and we'll definitely take it to heart because we're here for you guys. Mm-hmm. We enjoy hanging out, and we're going to do this, regardless if you're listening or not. But if there's anything we can do to enhance your listening or viewing pleasure, just let us know. So
it's for you, for me, and for the Christmas tree. So
absolutely, and for Winnie Cooper. So I know Winnie Cooper is in my first one, and Vanessa Hudgens is in my second. I think. I don't know. Maybe.
If not,
she's in a lot of them.
She should be.
I don't know. We'll see. So. All right, we are also on Patreon, so we don't have any followers there yet, which is fine. But once we do, we'll start recording some mini episodes and throw on there as well, so that if you just can't get enough Oz and Curtis, that you could catch some extra content there. But you got anything else you want to share?
No, just we appreciate having you along for the ride, and we hope that it's putting a smile on your face like it is for us. So yeah, stay tuned for next month's new theme.
Yeah, so I'm excited to switch directions, and we'll see what we get out of this. So all right, well, for Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we will hope to see you next week.
Take care.
Take care.